Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. We are live. We are live. We are live. Um, Appreciate everyone for tapping in today so that we can talk about the food crisis. I've done quite a few videos about this a couple of, well, last year, I think it was last year, ever since the Russia-Ukraine war had started. And I wanted to give an update there and to assess if there's still some opportunity there, and also being able to be self-sufficient in that manner. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to go ahead and kick the intro real quick, and we will be back with the video that you've came to watch.
Think. Act. And prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
All right, we are back. We are back. We are back. Hope you all are doing well. If you are watching this, be sure to drop a comment in the comment section. I love to acknowledge you and to appreciate you for joining today. If you are driving while you're watching this, please do not drop a comment in this comment section while you are driving. So I am going to talk a little bit about the food crisis that I had talked quite a bit about in the last couple of years, and so I just want to kind of do some updates there. Let's see, my guy Go Flow is here in the building. Appreciate you for joining today. Appreciate you for joining. So I did just reach over 3,000 subscribers, and this has been a grind, you all. This has been a grind. I mean, consistency obviously matters, providing high quality content and such. But I mean, I shared on my screen that a lot of people that watch my material are not subscribed, and so I want to turn that around to build more subscribers. So if you are watching this and you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button so that you can stay in touch with some high quality content that I am giving you all with the, even the brilliant minds in this investment space that I bring onto the channel. Yeah. So I just got done doing an interview with Irv. His name's Irvin Ehrenberg. He's a good guy I met at the Rural Symposium. Used to manage a hedge fund of quite a significant amount of money, and he just his story, it was just amazing. So I just got done interviewing Irv, and looking forward to connecting with him at the New Orleans Investment Conference. So if you all haven't checked out the investment conference, be sure to go to the link in the description. I do have it there so that you can even if you join live stream or come in person, would love to engage with you all. So let's go ahead and get into this today. So today we're going to talk about the food crisis, and we know that since Russia invaded Ukraine, a huge amount of grains were at risk, and grains being wheat and other commodities that are needed to make food. And so we saw agriculture stocks skyrocket at that time and such. And so I participated in some of that. And, ultimately, like, I don't like to participate on people's, pain and things of that nature. But I mean, we have to look out for ourselves, because these politicians and these people that make these huge decisions, ultimately their decisions impact us on the ground. So we have to benefit in whatever way we can, right? So that's my take on this. So I'm going to go ahead and share screen, and we're going to go through a little bit of macro on what is happening with the grains and such, and then we're going to just see if there's any opportunity there. So here we are. Let's go ahead and go. All right. So first thing is that looking at the how much grains are produced across the world, I mean, we can see that Russia and Ukraine make a huge amount of the grains, and so you can see the dark here is 100 million tons. This is from 2020 production, which, I mean, I wonder how the numbers have changed since supply chains have cleared up a little bit. But yeah, so this is pretty much, I mean, you have India, China, they produce quite a bit, and then you have Russia. So as you can see, based on the top 10 wheat producing countries, This is based on 2020 data. You see Russia is number 3 at 85, almost 86 million tons. And then you have Ukraine at close to 25 million tons. And so, and they actually make up 30% of the global wheat trade. And so, and this is just actual wheat. We haven't even gotten into fertilizer production and potash and things of that nature. So this is just wheat. So 30% of the world's trade, Russia and Ukraine make up that amount. So we're going to go ahead and jump over to a article that pretty much where Russia pulled out of the grain deal that was allowing grains to be transported across the Black Sea. So Russia halts landmark deal that allowed Ukraine to export grain at time of growing hunger. And so this was in July, so almost 2 months ago. Russia on Monday halted a breakthrough wartime deal that allowed grain to flow from Ukraine to countries in Africa, the Middle East, and Asia, where hunger is growing threat and high food prices have pushed more people into poverty. And pretty much it will be suspended until demands to get Russian food and fertilizer to the world are met. An attack Monday on a bridge connecting the Crimean Peninsula to Russia was not a factor in the decision, that was said. And so when you have just all of these political forces that have this much power, it really prevents like the you know, these things from flowing, you know, the trade to flow, so for people to get the resources that they need. And so we have obviously had a lot of globalization over the past 30 years. And I mean, pretty much like now the globe trades a lot with each other, and people have become reliant on other nations to provide their own their their grains, their energy sources and such. And now we're seeing like many nations are starting to look at like, okay, we need to start producing out of our own country, because we can't be reliant on other nations to provide our energy. And Germany was a key example of that, because they shut down a lot of their nuclear reactors. I think they shut down all of them, and they got to the point where they were reliant on Russia for their natural gas and their oil. And Russia had the pipelines, the Nord Stream pipelines that went through all these countries across Europe, and Russia was able to control like how much they could cut off. They could reduce the amount of energy they flowed in and all those things, right? And so this just goes to show like you can't give essential national national resources that are needed. This is a security issue as well. You can't just give that power over to other nations, or so that's very important. So this was an important piece. So Russia pulled out of the grain deal in July. So that was a key thing. So what we're looking at right now, I've had Jim Rogers on multiple times. He's talked about the issue with farming. He's very bullish on agriculture long term. And this shows the average age of farmers across nations. Many people don't want to become farmers, including myself. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like, I want to be, out here busting my back, and all this stuff. Like, but, I've learned even through, I have a family reunion coming up in a couple of years, and been learning about my third great grandfather. He was actually a prominent farmer in the state that I grew up in, that I was born and raised in. So, and even Jim has talked to me, offline, like, "Hey, Daryl, have you ever considered becoming a farmer?" And I was like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Well, you may want to consider it." So when he said that, that was like, a hint to me, like, okay, why did he, say I should consider this? Like, is this going to become a big issue? And we see here that, that the average age of farmers are, pretty much, it's pretty high. So let's see, USDA defines a beginning farmer as anyone who has farmed for 10 years or less. In 2017, the United States had 908 producers who identified as beginning farmers, and they accounted for 27% of the country's 3.4 million producers. How old were these new farmers? The average age of a beginning farmer is 46.3 years old, much younger than the average age of all farmers, which is 57.5 years old. With the doubt, the art and science of producing food attracts people of all ages. So the average age of all farmers is going close to 60 years old. So that's an issue there. Long term, like how sustainable is that? How sustainable is that? We find 26% of beginning farmers are under the age of 35. Um, and so and the under 35 age group represents only 8% of US farmers overall. So people aren't going into these farming careers. I mean, there's a lot of legislation. There's a lot of restrictions and things of that nature, as well as there's a lot of monopolization of the farming industry as well. And so GoFlow just pointed out convenience stores and produce aisles made us soft. Yeah, like, hey, like really, like I'd rather sit behind this screen and talk on YouTube and talk about the issue. But man, like, to be a farmer, like a lot of my family were farmers and stuff. And like I think with my generation, we grew up like more on the city side, of things, and like we didn't really connect with that side of our my family history. Which I mean, like me and my sisters, especially me and my younger sister, like we grew up in the city side of things, and like it was just times were different. Like we didn't get raised on the farm with the pigs and stuff like that, like my mom's did, but yeah, we weren't really that, and so yeah, it's definitely something that I have to consider. So as we can see, so what are some reasons y'all think that the average age of farmers is so so much older than why do y'all think that is? I mean, I think that I have my reasons, me just growing up in the city, but yeah, why do y'all think that is? So that's a bullish factor long term. I think um, is that this has to change. Like people have to get to producing really, really good things that matter. So let's see. My sister commented. She says, and I think about it, those farmers been farming and brought up as farmers. I think that we have to find and train younger people with those skills, set up a farmers program like an internship. Yeah, I agree. And sis, like comment just your perspective on we were raised in Oklahoma, which has a lot of farmland. I just learned that my third great grandfather on my dad's side, he was a prominent farmer in Deep Fork, Oklahoma. And yeah, so like why do you think kids aren't really wanting to go into these careers? I mean, obviously we have a new age of like social media and many other things that people can get into, but like why do y'all think people aren't going into these jobs? Because these are like essential needs. Like we have to eat, right? Obviously we have a better return on our energy, which means like return on energy is ROE. It means that now we went from people like, having to cultivate the ground and all those things. And now we have a lot of machines that are able to do that for us so that more people can be fed, right? Obviously, I mean, I don't agree with the GMO things, but I mean, mass GMOs were produced to be able to feed more people. We've had a growing world population. I mean, the world population is almost to 8 billion people right now, or maybe at 8 billion. I have to check that, but we need more farmers, right? And why do you think people aren't joining these farming industries of that nature? So yeah, I love to see y'all feedback on that. So so that's an important piece, I wanted to share. Then you have on the other hand, you have countries that produce fertilizer. So I'm going to actually look this up. I didn't have this tab up ready yet, so we're going to look at that. All right. So here we are. Statista. Sounds like a good site name. Let's go ahead and check that out. Boom. All right. So here we are. This is in 2018. I thought they would have had something more updated. I guess it was released 2021 or something. So we see that production volume of nitrogen fertilizer worldwide by country. We can see that Russia is fourth in that. I mean, you also have other things such as potash. So countries that produce potash. All right, let's see if this comes up. So Canada produces the most potash, right? Top 10 potash countries by production. See, we have Canada, China, third is Russia. So you have these Russia plays a big part in the global economy in terms of potash, fertilizer. We saw that Russia and Ukraine export 30% of the grains for the world, and Russia pulled out of the grain deal. Then you see fertilizer. I mean, Belarus is right next to Russia, which they're pretty much a Russian ally. And so they're number 4, right? And so these are critical resources needed to produce and to make the food and to grow the food that we eat, right? So we can see that there. So there's a lot of opportunity here. I mean, obviously, the biggest thing is you want to be, self-sufficient in whatever way you can, even if that's getting a couple of chickens or growing your own veggies out of your yard. I know quite a few people that have done that. But you want to be self-sufficient and have some of those skills. I mean, because who knows how this plays out, but it does look kind of grim in some ways when you have Russia pulling out and they make up 30% of the grain production. So I'm going to look at a couple of stocks here. Let's see. My sister commented. She said, for instance, our great grandma and grandpa lived in Depew, Oklahoma, and raised their kids there. I think most of those kids, Big Mama had 12 kids, were encouraged to move to the cities and make a better living. The times changed, and Black folks, Native folks especially, wanted to get away from the sharecropper type work, pretty much trying to get away from that hard labor with little results. Yeah. Because I mean, that's what I was sharing earlier. Me and Kayla, which we're the youngest, we did not grow up in that type of environment. I mean, yeah, we had some of the food, which I can't do, the pig feet and stuff like that. Some of my folks, they would cook the pig feet and the chitterlings. Some people call it chitterlings. We call it chitlins, right? I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. And we were just raised in a different era. And so, and I was coming up in the age of, the internet, video games and things of that nature. So I had a lot of things to distract me. My dad, Daryl Thomas. I'm not a junior, but I am named Daryl Thomas after my father. He's tuning in, so appreciate you for tuning in, Pops. It's good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Be sure to drop a comment on why you think young people aren't farming nowadays. If you have any input on that, because some of our ancestors and our great grandfathers and grandmothers and such, they were into that farming industry. So we have NASCAR All Out says low float food stocks can be extremely volatile. Yeah, and I think, are you referring to the wheat stocks and things like that? There's these almost like ETFs called wheat and a few others. I've kind of played around with them, and those seemed pretty volatile, and I got up out of there. I got up out of there. Long story short, I cannot deal with the moves in those funds of that nature. So yeah, let me know what else you're referring to. GoFlow said 100. Yep, Yep, I can't. Yeah, you can't do the pig feet and stuff either, man. I feel you on that, man. Like, hey, we got to upgrade to steak and potatoes now. You know what I'm saying? Like, those foods that I mean, hey, you had to eat what you can eat back then. Like, people were less picky and such. Like, you had to eat the gruel or whatever you had to eat, right? But yeah, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't know if it's pretty boy syndrome or spoiled boy syndrome or what, but I can't do the chitlins, the pig feet. I can't do the ham hocks. I can't do the I just remember this. I always share this memory with people. Like, I remember my great grandmother. She came in. I was a kid. I was traumatized by this. So she came in and she had this pan and she had all the pig snouts just lined up perfectly on the freaking pan. And then she would grab one, put it in this grinder, and she would start grinding it. And I was a kid and I was just like, ugh, I cannot touch that stuff at all. Like, ugh, I would never eat that. So yeah, I was traumatized, and so some soul food I cannot touch. I can do some fried catfish, but what I'm saying, like, so anybody want to invite me to a fish fry, that'd be great, but I can't do the chitterlings. I can't go to school. I remember going to school, like I was going to school in the hood, y'all, and freaking people could smell the chitlins on you. You know what I'm saying? I remember vividly, like somebody came into the class in elementary school, and another kid yelled out, "Somebody's grandmama cooking chitlins!" Because you could just smell it in the backpack, you could smell it in the clothes. It used to stink up the whole house, right? I can't do that, y'all. I can't do it. I'm sorry, y'all, but I just can't do it, right? Uh, and so GoFlow said it would have turned me to a vegetarian if he saw that. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, I feel you 100% on that. Yeah, yep. I can't do it. So my sister said farming is so also regulated. Yep, there's a lot of regulations on farmers, and this is what we're seeing that's happening in the energy sector as well. Um, Gas prices are very high. There's a lot of regulations on, especially even oil companies and such, on where they can drill and things like that. Obviously, I mean, you want to be careful. I mean, they should be mindful where they drill and do projects, but the government isn't allowing certain leases on federal land and things of that nature, and so and we aren't producing as much as we should be. So those are some other aspects, and so yep. Yep, y'all. Hey, hog head cheese. Oh, I can't even fathom that, yo. I can't even fathom that. I'm not even gonna look that up. All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna look at some of the stocks that we came to look here. So we can see here, boom. We're gonna look at actually I gotta share the screen. My bad, y'all. We're gonna look at Mosaic. This is a company that I was invested in before, which I'm actually going to dive back into because it came off the highs. So Mosaic, this is a fertilizer company. If you don't know, they pay 2% dividend right now. I mean, which isn't much, but here, I mean, you're mostly getting into the growth of the stock. I mean, so Mosaic definitely produces fertilizer. So as you can see, I started buying Mosaic around 2021, somewhere around here, about $30. It had went up to $76, and then it corrected. It's been in the correction ever since, and so then it went down to 35. Now it's sitting at about $39, but I expect it to go back up with Russia pulling out of the grain deal, and this seems like a pretty solid company. Another solid company that I invest in, that I currently a shareholder of. This is not financial advice, but it is Nutrien. Nutrien is another solid company. I was buying them back in 2021 when they were about, I think they were about $50, and then they skyrocketed up to like $110, and then came through, had a nice correction, and now they're sitting at about $64. So those are some ways that you can play the fertilizer market in a less volatile way than the actual funds, such as like there's funds like wheat, for example. And this is another thing, y'all. I wanted to share this real quick while I'm here. This is crude oil chart, and as you can see, I mean, crude oil over the last, I mean, this is, during the pandemic when oil technically went to negative a barrel because of, I mean, people weren't driving, flying, and they had just a huge oversupply. And then it went up to, $118, and then it came down. And so during this time, right, you had, gas prices were being suppressed because we were releasing from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, which that's what Biden was doing. And so now oil came back down to $70 and now it's back up to 85. And so that just goes to show, like, you have to produce more to keep the prices down. You have to produce more. It's called supply and demand. Obviously, if we have recession, the price of oil is going to come down because, I mean, more people are unemployed and less people are traveling, flights and cruise ships and things like that, because they're having to cut back on those discretionary expenses. But that is one thing to note that I wanted to note. So yeah, so I think this was a fund I was investing in a while ago. It's got absolutely killed. It's at 592 back after Russia did the initial invasion and such. It was at, I mean, it just shot up. I mean, you had this happen. It was at $7, skyrocketed up to $10, then ended up at 11, and then now it's back down to 592, which this could be a buying opportunity. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying it is, but it could be, with Russia pulling out of the grain deal, and we may see another spike up like this. I'm not sure. It's not guaranteed to happen, but I'm just thinking, like, right now it has been getting obliterated since its high back during that time. These are some other kind of shares of, like, soybeans and such. This is corn. I mean, corn was at $29. Now it's down to $22. So it came down off the high. As you can see, like, when Russia did the invasion, it's February of last year. It just popped up, right? 2 months, it went from, $23 to $29, $30, and now it's back down to 22. So corn and wheat. Soybeans have constantly been going up. It's not really wasn't really tied to necessarily the invasion of Russia and Ukraine, but as you can see that, I mean, since then it has continuously been climbing. So there's some opportunity in the agricultural space, for investment. So let's see. I had some people comment. It's also illegal to, yep. So let's see. My pop said, I grew up on plenty of the government commodities like cheese, peanut butter, powdered eggs, powdered milk, and canned spam and such. Man, they probably had less chemicals back then, pops. They probably had less chemicals. They're probably a little more healthier, I guess. But yeah, I can understand that. My sister said, do you think we are in a recession? I would say, I think that if we're not already in a recession, I mean, oftentimes recession is seen, it's like almost like looking back. So, like, you have this data that comes out in, let's say next year or the year after, and they look back and they determine, like, okay, yeah, we did have a recession. So last year we did have a huge correction in stocks back in October of 2022. It was a fast bounce back. The dollar had skyrocketed, so many people were pretty much risk off, which means that they're not taking on very much risk, and so they got out of the markets, and therefore the prices fell, right? But I would say that the right now, I would say, I mean, many people are anticipating a soft landing, right? And I just think that that's not going to be the case. The Fed raised rates, like almost the fastest in history, right? And then they haven't even began to cut rates. And so usually what happens with recessions is the Fed raises rates really fast, they pause, and then when something breaks, they start to cut rates again. So, for example, I'm going to pull up the chart. I love looking at this chart. Thank you for bringing that question up, sis. We're going to look at it right now. So, as you can see, this goes back to, I mean, quite far, right? So let's see. We're here. We're gonna zoom in over here. So as you can see, March 99, the Fed starts raising rates, right? The Fed funds rate goes up to 6.5%. And then you have the dot-com bust, right? This is when all the internet stocks went bust. The Fed cuts rates. Boom. So they go up, they pause. They pause for what? 4 or 5, 6 months, and then they cut rates. So that means that we were in recession at that point, right? Then, we're out of, rates are low, and they start raising rates again, 2004, 2005. They're raising rates, and then they pause. So they pause, boom, boom, boom. How many months they paused? It was August 2006 to almost a year they paused, right? Something breaks, they cut interest rates. So they reduce the cost of borrowing. So that means that credit card interest, all of that, pretty much comes down. They do it again, right? They go up again. This was in March of, this was in 2008. They started hiking again. The market experienced a lot of pain then. And then you see, like in 2019, the Fed started cutting rates right before the repo market blew up, and I think it was September. But they cut rates, and then you had February 2020. They cut dramatically again. So this was when the pandemic started, right? So these gray bars here, these are actual recession times. As you can see, 2007 to 2009. You see the dot-com as well. And right now we're here. So the Fed started hiking rates. This is like the fastest. I mean, this is over the span of a year. They hiked it up 5%, right? I mean, over here, they were hiking from May 2004 to what? 2006, almost 2 years, right? Before they even pause. Here, we're still hiking, right? We may have some more hikes this year, and they haven't even paused yet. So, I mean, they haven't paused for however long, and then when something really breaks, that's when they cut rates and reduce the cost of borrowing. So, I would say that I ain't even showing the chart right now, y'all. I thought I thought I was sharing the chart. I was over here talking, y'all. Y'all didn't say nothing to me. I ain't get no comments saying like, "Hey, Daryl, you're not sharing the chart," and nothing. Man, come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. I'm just over here talking. So this is what I was looking at. As you can see, I'm just really quick. From 1999 up till 2000, they were raising rates. They paused for a good 6 months. Then you had the dot-com bubble start to pop. December 2000, boom, they cut rates again. Then you had the same thing. They rose from 2004 to 2006 for 2 years. They paused for a good year. And then, the global financial crisis starts to hit. They start cutting rates dramatically, which they reduce the cost of borrowing. They started doing that again in 2017 to 2018. And then they cut rates. And then we had the pandemic happen. They cut rates again. So now, as you can see, we're here on the incline. They rose rates. They raised rates quite a bit in a short amount of time, less than about a year, right? And they haven't even got to the pause yet. This is the pause right here, where they pause for a certain amount of time. And when this is happening, that means that many companies are having to refinance loans at higher interest rates. You have higher interest rates on credit cards. You have just so much pressure just builds up on the system. I mean, corporate loans have to get higher interest rates on that. I mean, commercial real estate, when they have to refinance their real estate, they have to get a higher interest rate on that. And this sucks out more capital and more money out of the system, right? And so, and we haven't even got to the pause yet. So when we get to the pause, then we'll begin to start to see more pain, and the Fed will eventually cut rates. So that's my take on it. I think that we may be in one now, but I think we're going to see more pain ahead. So, what do you do in a recession, right? recession, you want to be cash heavy because there's a lot of opportunity that comes, right? You want to have a decent amount of savings. I mean, you'll get a really good deal on stocks, right? You get a really good deal on, get a really good deal on real estate, things of that nature. So you want to be cash heavy so that you have the liquidity to be able to take advantage um, of some of these deals that may occur. So that's my take, sis. I think that recession is around the corner. We may be in one now, but I think that more pain is around the corner. So with interest rates this high, interest rates have been low for so long, and now people are having to pay astronomical amounts on mortgages. I mean, they're getting mortgages at what, 7-8%, right? Car loans, they're getting them at what, 20 something percent. Credit cards, 20 something, 30%, right? Yeah, people are paying a lot of money to the banks right now. So I think that we're not seeing and everything happens with a lag too. So like when the Fed raises rates that much, like you get a big lag time in between when the actual recession starts to hit. So that's my grim prediction, right? So yeah, own cash. Some people are invested in treasury bills, which pay about 5.5%, 6%, and those are up to 1 year, right? And then the government has to pay you back. So some people don't buy the long end, which is the 30-year bonds or anything like that until recession actually hits. And so people are still stacking away cash, and they're expecting there to be a drop in the market. So it's good for you to right now to build a watch list of what companies you are interested in buying. You can obviously average into those companies, which means that you can dollar cost average. You could throw in a little money here, a little money there, but I would not be going all in on any particular assets right now. Me personally, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to keep cash on the sideline and build a position, but I'm not going all in on anything right now. I mean, except, I'll have gold and buy gold. I buy Bitcoin, and I buy commodities, natural resource stocks. But I'm even with those, like those can take a big haircut when, a downturn in the market begins. All of them can, except gold bounces back a lot faster. So gold usually takes a big dip, because when people need liquidity, they sell whatever they have. People sell their gold drops in price, and then shortly after it rebounds significantly. So that's my take on recession and how to be prepared for that. So all right, y'all, I gotta get going. I gotta get to the fam and everything. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Just hit 3,000 subscribers. Thank you all for subscribing to the channel and everything. Planning on keeping it growing. I have some interviews coming up that going to be releasing this week, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, appreciate y'all for joining me today. So y'all have a blessed day. I will see y'all this week. All right, peace.